Today, once again, we are talking a special feature shiur about Yontov of Tu B'Av, and as we're going to see, it's perhaps the Yontov of the Binyan Beis Hamikdash. The Sugyas HaGemara in Tainis Daf Lamed Amud Beis in Mishneh. The Mishneh says as follows: Omar Rab Shimon ben Gamliel, Lo hoyu yomim tovim liYisrael kechamisha asar be'av ukeyoyim haKippurim. There weren't any yomim tovim in Klal Yisrael kechamisha asar be'av, like Tu B'Av, and like Yom HaKippurim. As the Gemara Kasha Bishnum Yom HaKippurim, we understand it's a Yontov liYisrael, mishum de'is bei slicha u'mechila. Sharei, it's a Yontov shenitnu bu luches achreines liYisrael v'nitno slicha u'mechila liYisrael. We know the luches harishonos were broken on Shivos HaBetamuz. Then there were 40 days Yomim HaEmtsoyim, which finished till Chavtes of Rosh Chodesh Elul. And then the third time, Moshe Rabbeinu goes up with the Luchis HaAchreinos on Rosh Chodesh Elul, and he goes down on Yom HaKippurim. That day of Yom HaKippurim is called Yom Shenitnu Boy Luchis HaShniyos Luchis HaAchreinos, which that were the Luchis that stayed with Klal Yisrael throughout the history. V'nitnu Boy Kadosh Baruch Hu says, Salachti ki dvorecha, Kadosh Baruch Hu forgave for the Chet HaEgel. So Yontov of Yom HaKippurim is self-understood. It's one of the Yomim Tovim shenitnu liYisrael lemechila uleslicha ulekapora, and therefore it's considered and deemed as the highlight of Yom Tovim shenimtzu liYisrael. Says the Gemara, Elo chamisha asar be'av mai. What's so special about chamisha asar be'av? We put it together with Yom HaKippurim. So the Gemara gives 6 reasons. I would like in short to review those 6 reasons the Gemara gives. Omar Rav Yehuda Omar Shmuel Ziyom Shehutru Shvatim Lovay Zebazeh. We just read not long ago, a few weeks ago, Steht in Teire v'chol bas yoreshes nachalo mimatois b'nei Yisrael le'echod mimishpachas mate avio tia leisha. In the story of Bnei Tzlofchot, it says that she has to marry somebody from her own shevet. So therefore, they shouldn't be, if a woman, Meshevet Shimon, marries somebody, Meshevet Yehuda, it shouldn't be a transfer of assets that she received from her father to go to another shevet. In other words, when there's somebody has a son, the son is Yerush, but somebody doesn't have a ben, so the bas is Yoresh, not b'mokum ben. She has to marry only somebody from her own shevet, from her own tribe, in order so the nachalo from one shevet should not be transferred to another shevet. Afterwards, Omdu Chachamim, in the later generation, they were matir this Isur, and they said that it's mutter for bonus Yoshes Nachlo to marry into another shevet. That Maise happens on Chamisha Asar Be'av. My Dorush, how did they give the heter? Steht ze adover shetziva Hashem libnoi tzlofchot, ach lemishpachas mate avim tiena lenoshim, vaist ois, he would only be noyeg in Doir HaMidbar, but thereafter he wouldn't be noyeg, and therefore they were Doir sheheter, and the shvatim could intermarry one with the other. So the more zweite reason, what is the special simcha that machmas that simcha is nikba v'yontov v'chamisha asar be'av l'hoyu yom tovim liYisrael? So the Gemara, Yom shebehutor shevet binyamin lovei bekohol. The famous story in Sefer Shoftim, in Perek Chov, the story of Pilegesh Bagiva, and they were oyser all the shvatim to marry off their daughters to shevet binyamin. And it says, Ve'ish Yisrael nishba b'mitzpah, they gathered them in the mitzpah, that was the gathering place. Ish mimenu, anyone from us, was a shvur, lo yiten bito lebinyamin leish. My dorush, why were they matir? After generations, they were matir their daughters to intermarry into shevet binyamin. It says, Omarav ne'emar, ish mimenu lo yiten es bitoy. Means to say, one of us. But it's dafka, one of us. But the next generation, the generations to come, they were matir, and therefore Hutu Shevet Binyamin was excommunicated from intermarrying to the other Shvatim throughout the generation of Pilegesh Bakiva, the next generation, Zuto Lova Zebezeh, it's the second reason. Third reason, the Gemara brings down a fascinating reason. We just learned it in Tisha B'Av, but let's review it again. Rabba Bar Bar Chana Omar B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Yoim Shekolu Boi Meisei Midbar. We know the Meraglim went for their journey on Choftes Besivon of the Shana Shniya, the Tzeisam in Mitzrayim. They went for 40 days. They came back on Leil Tisha B'Av. They came back Leil Tisha B'Av. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them, Atem vayivku hom balayla hu, Atem bechisem bechira shel chinam, afaniet lachem bechir l'deiros. And what's the bechir l'deiros? The halacha was that all 603,550 people, which were ages 20 to 60, was nichlalu b'gzeiras meisei midbar. The shvua was they're not going to come to Eretz Yisrael. If I take 600,000 change and split it equally to 40, basically, says the Gemara, 15,000 employed and change will die every single year. What do? So the Gemara, the Medrash says, Kol Arboim Shana Shehoyu Yisrael Bamidbar. Moyer de Gezach. Bekol Erev Tisha B'Av Hoya Machriz HaKoroiv. So it was a Koroiz that was Machriz, came out with microphones, megaphones, and sing throughout the whole Machane Yisrael. Tzu'u Lachfoyer. Go out digging. V'hoyu yoitzim kol echod ve'echod mi Yisrael v'choifim lo ikeva. Each person, each person took out his clay avodah and dug his own grave, as they say in English, and dug a grave, and they went. V'yoshem boi koyim al kol halaylo shemayomus koydim sheyachpa v'lo yikberu. Because the gzeira, the reason why there was a hatova, beggar dig your own grave on Erev Tisha B'Av, because if you're not going to do that, you're not going to survive Tisha B'Av. So if you're not going to dig your own grave, you're going to be laying kedoimen al pnei adoma, you're not going to be able to be buried. In order to have the schus to be buried, they went to sleep in the kever. Lemochor baboiker, tomorrow morning, on Tisha B'Av, in the morning, hoyeshuv yoytze hakorois umachris. The chorus came out, the same microphone, yibodlu achaim mitoich hamesim. The lebedike, those who are still perished, the ones who are alive, please get out of the kever. Kol mi shehoyo boy nefesh chaim, loshen hamedrash, hoyo yoytze mikivroi. Ve'ashar shemeisu, nisharu kvurim b'kivreim. People dug their own grave literally, and the ones who didn't get up, didn't get up. Yotzu kulom chaim b'shnasa arboim, on the 40th year. So the 40th year, we only have 15,000 left, because throughout all the 39 years, the 585,000 people, basic and change, basically died. B'shnasa arboim osukein uvaboike k'sheyich zakorois yibodlo achaim mina meisim yotzu kulom chaim me'akvor. They all came out alive. Those last bunch came out alive. וכיוון שראו ישראל כך תומו ואומרו שמא טעינו בחשבון החודש ויום זה אינו תשעה באב. Came out, they say, perhaps, every year, and that's the last bunch, and all of us came out alive, there was some kind of a toast. And be'emes, it's not ma'aber the chodesh of, it's chodesh me'uber, maybe we made a mistake by one day, and it's really not Tisha B'Av. Ve'ishochvu be'kivreihem kama yomim le'isofim, ad shenismalo alavona. They laid in the kever another few days to make sure till they come to the middle of the month, till Tisha Chamisha B'Av. Kivan Shiro Shinismalo Alavona Betu B'Av, and they knew Tisha B'Av definitely passed and nobody died. So they knew that the cheshbon of the chodesh is mechuven, and since 40 days of the Gzeir, 40 years of the Gzeir has passed, they decided that Kodesh Baruch Hu made them a nes. There's a word that Mashgiach Chatzkel used to say, the Alter of Slabotki used to say, what's really the reason why Kodesh Baruch Hu made a nes? Apparently it was a nes. Was he given them cheshbon from the nes? He says the first year everybody goes down, 600,000 people, there's 600,000 graves. Each one go. The guy lays down in the kevos trachter banacht. He's making saying krish me'alamita, saying amapel. I'm not going to die. It's not going to happen by me. Statistically, there's only 2.5% chance that I'm going to die. There's 40 other groups of 15,000. 1 in 40 dies. So avada, everybody made the cheshbon. And as the years pass by, you get closer and closer and closer, because statistically, when the numbers go down, declining, there's more of a chance that you're going to be one of them. When you come to the last year, the last 15,000 go, was haben sie getracht, hat gesagt Reb Chatzkel, gesagt der Alte, each one in his own nusach. Was haben sie getracht? What do they think about when they went down to the grave? I'm 100% not getting up in the morning because I'm the last bunch and there's no others. Last year I could have still said, it's going to happen by the neighbor, it's not going to happen by me. But what's going to happen now? I'm definitely going to be the guy, I'm definitely not going. So when he made Krishma, this kavone, was me weiss for Reb Chaim Volozhin, mevadoi, which is mesugel to mevatel mantik alle dinim and alle gzeres. When the guy thought about it, he said, listen, I'm dead. I can only be mischanen HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There's no other way out. Statistically, there's no cheshbonis, chevre starbers, like the Chofetz Chaim used to call it. Not by us in the Besmedish. The guy who died and the second Besmedish, nicht by uns. When the kavone is einoi milvada, a person knows he cannot einoi leishon alavinu shebashamayim, Kadosh Baruch Hu yasel this. So on that Tu Be'ov, they made a cheshbon and they saw Kadosh Baruch Hu made him a nes. And so the Gemara, inichu v'asur liyontef the Omar Mar achelei kol u'meisem midbar, till the kol lo hoyo misyached adibur in Moshe bechibo. Throughout all the years, Moshe Rabbeinu was still alive in that Tu Be'ov. Moshe died in the 40th year, and Zion Adar, as we know, and a half a year later, Moshe dies 33 days before they go into Eretz Yisrael. But Tu Be'ov, prior to that, until Fum the Maise of the Meraglim, until the Maise of the Meraglim, until the Let's the Yo of the Tu Be'ov, Lohoyo Adiburi Moshe Bechibo. This Bazundere Chibo Yeseira Kadosh Baruch Hu is Medaber Mi Moshe, those 40 years not. Kiven Vayi Kasher Tamu Kol Anshe Milchama Lomus Vaydaber Hashem Elai. Vaystois the Gemara says that only at that time Kadosh Baruch Hu Daber Elai is a Dibur Shel Chibo, and therefore the Hayichud of the Chibo will return after Kadosh Baruch Hu was Mechaper and the Chet HaEgel. So Kol's man was not Nishlam the Dibur Bechibo. There was a certain madrega of regas between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Moshe Rabbeinu. Once the mission accomplished, and one HaKadosh Baruch Hu was Michoel Sorotzkin, from that day on, from Tu Be'ov of the 40th year, we're starting from Nisan in that 40th year, until the P'tir of Moshe HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Medaber and Moshe Bechibo. That's the reason why Chamishos Be'ov is Yom Tov Liso. Fourth reason gives the Gemara, there used to be, is the Gemara, Yom Shebebitel Hoisheh ben Elois Aprois Dois, Shehoishiv Yerovam ben Nevat al Adrochim Shel Yali Yisrael L'Regel. Yerovam ben Nevat wanted, Klal Yisrael used to be Oil L'Regel, they want to be Oil L'Regel in order to go to Aliyah L'Regel every year, and Yerovam ben Nevat put Shomrim that people should go to Beis Avodah Zarah. There was a Beis Avodah Zarah alternately, instead of going to Aliyah L'Regel, go for Avodah Zarah. He put Shomrim. Hoshea was also Ovid Avodah Zarah, but he didn't want to be Chayfei, so he went and he made a Gzeira. He took the Shomrim, those checkpoints of all the people going on junction to Aliyah L'Regel, he was Mevatel. So because of that beetle which happened at Tu Be'ov, that's the Yontif L'Yisrael. That's the fourth reason. Rav Masne Omar Yom Chamishos B'Yov Yom Shenitnu Boy Harugei Ho'ir Beisor L'Kvur. We know that after the Beis Hamikdash was Nechrav, in the year Gimel Alofim Tov Tov Lamed, 3830, 65 years later, was still dwelling down the churban. There was a churban of the Ir Beitar. If you look in Chazal and Midrashim, in the churban of Beitar, there was everybody ran away, and they were trying to rebel. There was a tkufa of Mered Bar Koichva. They ran away and they went into the fortress in Beitar, which was the Ir Mukefes Chayma, and they were matzliach to survive there until they broke in and they killed all the people in Beitar. Wieviel Menschen gewesen sollen, steht in Chazal, in the Medrash, of 500,000 people. It was a Holocaust. They murdered the whole Sheiris HaPleita. This is 65 years after the Churban. This is 5 years before Gol's Bubble comes back with the Chorash and the Masker. They killed him. By the way, that war wasn't the Pashto war, because Klal Yisrael, whoever was in the city, put up a fight, and they were matzliach to kill from the Romans 200,000 soldiers. It was a major battle. But Lamai said they killed each and every one of them. They never ever gave him Likvur. They were laying down on Kedoimen al Pnei Asodeh again, and the Yoim that Nitnu Boy, Baruch Beito Likvur, the major nace. The Gemara says that they call Oisas Man, that they were laying there, theoretically, the Meshech, the Baruch Hadoshim, that they weren't buried. They should have, the Maaseh should be Masriach and Misapish. The Gemara says and Tu B'Ov, they gave him reshus to go ahead and bury them. And they were Mesakin in Yavne, steht in Gemara. We know that Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai asked the Romans for 3 things. He asked them in exchange of the churban, and again, one of them was Ten Yavne v'Chachameo, and the Shechina moved from Yerushalayim. The Sanhedrin moved from Yerushalayim to Yavne. From there, he moved to Usha and moved back to Yavne. Because when Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai was in Yavne, and Mesakin all the takonas in Yavne. One of the takonas in Yavne was the Mesakin Birkas Hatoiv ve'Ameitiv. Hatoiv in Birkas Hamazon, the Birkas Hatoiv ve'Ameitiv. Gemara says Moshe Tikin Birkas Hazon, Yeshua Tikin Birkas Haaretz, David Ushleimu Mesakin Bnei Yerushalayim, and Bebeis Din B'Yavne he skinu Birkas Hatoiv ve'Ameitiv. What we say after the bracha of Birkas Hamazon, Hatoiv ve'Ameitiv, Hatoiv al Shelo Yisrichu Aruge Beitza. Kolzman they weren't nikbru ve'Ameitiv, while they were given to Kvur at the end of the day. They were given to Kvur. So that's the 5th reason. 6 reasons of the Gemara. Rabbi v'Rav Yosef the Amr Tarvayu Yom sheposchu boi milichrois eitzim letzorich ma'arocha, and they made it a yontif. Why? The Tanya is of the Gemara. Rabbi Lezer HaGodol Omer mechamisha be'ov v'oilach toshash kocho shel chamo, and they stopped. They used to dig. There used to be a mishmoris, different shifts of people that used to get the job of being koiras eitzim l'ma'arocha. In order to burn all the korbanos, you have to chop off the eitzim. They used to chop up the eitzim. They used to let it dry because there was a certain dampness. And if there's a dampness, you're afraid that in the second these dampness, these toiloim, the worms inside the eitzim, and the eitzim mesulo is posel ma'arocha. So b'yoyim, kolzman, the sun was b'si toikpoi, the sun is shining very hot. They kept on the kolzman, they used to be cutting eitzim ma'arocha. Chamisha so be'ov, so the Gemara, toshash koicha shel chamo. You want to know when is really the end of the summer? Tu be'ov, yesterday, is the day that the summer starts dwindling down. And the Gemara says, and therefore there's a chashash, there will be telas, because the dampness is still going to remain within them. Steht in, as I state in Maseches Midas. So the Gemara, v'korulei, at that day that they stop, Yom Tavar Magal, the day that they break the sword that they used to cut off the eitzim with, Tavar Magal. Because of Rashi, Rashbam, Sheposak, and Rabbi Babasu, Achoitev, Milachtov, Eitzim, Lamaroch. And Nikanvo Eloch, from Chamisha Be'ov, the Moisif, Moisifimle. Yosif al Chayiv. The Moisif, somebody who, since you don't have to work, he took the job away, so somebody is Moisif to be Oisek, B'Torah, Af Baleilos, no B'Yomim, not only B'Yomim, you could learn at night, is Yosif al Chayiv, because since the days are longer, the nights become longer, the days are becoming shorter, you have to be Oisek B'Torah Balayla. But the Loi Moisif B'Torah Balay Yasif. So the Gemara, what does Yasif mean? Tikberenu Imoy, he's going to die Balay Zmanei. So the Zman of Limud HaTorah, so Machlekes, the Rashbam says, what's the Yontif? Poscha Eitzim La'arocha is a Suda they used to make on the Siyum of the Mitzvah. Every Goymer Shel Torah, Goymer Shel Mitzvah, you make throw a party. The party was Rabbeinu Gershon, Rabbeinu Gershon, Baba Basra, and this Gemara says, because you have a Zechus, you'll be able to be Kaveh Eitim L'Torah at night as well, that's the reason why it's a Yontif. So the Yontif of Poscha Eitzim La'arocha is the Yontif of Ribui Torah. So we have 6 reasons why the halacha is that lo yehovi yomim tovim l'Yisrael. 6 different reasons, starting with the Heter Shvatim and Heter Binyamin, going through Meise Midbar and the beetle of the Aliyah L'Regel, the staring for Aliyah L'Regel, the Kvura of Aruge Beisar, and the Poscha Eitzim La'Ma'arocha, which is a Sibu of Ribu of Talmud Torah. So the more weiter, and this is what I would like to focus on today. What happened in Chamisha Sabel? Shoyu Bnois Yerushalayim Yoitzes Bikli Lovon Sheulim. The Bnois Yerushalayim, they used to go with beautiful white garments, but not theirs. The garments were Sheulim. Sheloi Levayesh, in order not to be Mevayesh, Zu She'en Lo. Some of them have been able to afford to buy a more expensive designer white dress, and the other one can only afford something cheaper. So you have to be She'el Ve'acher. So the Gemara Bas Melech used to be She'el and Bas Kohen Godel. Melech and Kohen Godel are the closest to each other. Kohen Godel mean Bas Gana Koyanim. And he was a sgan for Avedei Yom Kippurim, so he should be a friend. By sgan, mi bas Meshuach Mulchama is mi Kohen Hedyet, and Sh'ab Bnei Yisrael She'el Eizam Yisrael. Each one, you enter her friend, and they exchange clothes. Nobody came to the Kromim to be Mechelo Bakromim with their own clothes. Each and every one of them had to exchange the dress and wear somebody else's dress. Haloi Doveru, the Rishonim are oimed vos likta in them. So the Gemara Bnei Yisrael Yoitzes u'Mechelo is Bakromim. They used to dance in the Kromim. So the Gemara Tono Misha Ein Lo Isha Nifno. Any man that didn't have a wife, that was the way they used to make the shidduch. Miyuchasa shebeim oimres. Each one wanted to fakif herself in order to get a shidduch. Miyuchasa oimres bechur teine necho le mishpacha. She'ein isha elo le mishpacha. Yef yefiyes, we used to say, tnu einechem le yefi, she'ena isha elo le yefi. Miyuchasas mishpacha. And mechuore shebeim, what is somebody who's mechueres? Oimres kchu mikchachem l'shem shomayim. ובלבד שתיאטרונו בזהובים, זאת רש"י, after the chasana, give us some tachshitim, malbushim noim, and we'll make ourselves pretty. As I state in the Gemara. So I'm not getting involved right now in this Gemara, the Marshor and the Maral of Grace Ariches, Vos Likto in this, each one trying to verkoif yourself, ken no ribos on avot, for my Zeder, Michoel Sorotzkin, used to say, Vosi mitafroi, a maidel, was given, Saya miyucheses, Saya yefefio, Saya ashirois, which one was she velchem mailo tzibarim with? Somebody who's beautiful, with money, and with a nice mishpacha. He says Azam Meidl didn't go out; she stayed at home. They came to her. He said bederech halotz. So the Gemara, the Mishnah. Listen to the Mishnah. Aloshna Mishnah. V'chen u'omer tzenu urena b'nei tzion b'melech shloime ba'torah she'itro lo yimoi b'yoyim chasunosoi u'b'yoyim simchas liboy. B'yoyim chasunosoi ze matan teire, u'b'yoyim simchas liboy ze binyan beis hamikdash yibonei b'meheira b'yomeinu omein. This is the Lashon HaMishnah. First of the Kasha. When was the Chanukas HaBayis of the Bayis Rishon that Shlomo HaMelech made? The Gemara steht in Moed Kotten, Daf Tes Amud Aleph, Omar Rav Parnach, Omar Rabbi Yochanan, Oyso shona lo yosu Yisrael Yom HaKippurim, V'oyudoyagim v'oimim shemen yischayvu seineim shel Yisrael klayo, Yotza baskol ve'omer lehem kulchem mezumonim l'chaya oilam habo. 7 days before the Yontif of Sukkot, the Beis Hamikdash was nishlam, and they took a party for 7 days. Since Yom Kippur is 5 days before Sukkot, so the party of the Chanukas HaBayis happened on Yom Kippur as well. So Mimele Klal Yisrael thought because of Mevatel the Tanis and they made a Simcha of Chanukas HaBayis, maybe they will Nischai of Kloyo. Baskel came out and they said Kulchem Mezumonim l'chaya olam habo. The Batanura learns Yom Matan Torah is Yom HaKippurim because it's steht b'Yom Chasunos b'Yom Simchas Liboy Matan Torah Yom Simcha Binyan Beis Hamikdash. Those are the two things. Yom HaKippurim is the Yom Shenidim b'Luchos Achreinis, like we learned Luchos Achreinis, like we learned before, and Yom Simchas Liboy is the Yom of Binyan Beis Hamikdash, which is this Beis Hamikdash Harishon. Other Dom Reb Tzadok HaKohen is a ganze ariches, and he says he doesn't understand that to say that Binyan Beis Hamikdash is talking about that Yom Kippur, that the Erste Yom Kippur b'Yom Simchas Liboy. Pashtas, the reason why the Rav learns that way is because Tzendo B'nei Tzim HaMelech Shlomo HaMelech is the one who was Chaynech the Beis Hamikdash. Weiter, what does it say? She bone b'meheiro b'yomeinu omein. You know, she bone Beis Hamikdash. It says Mishachara Beis Hamikdash. The word Mishachara Beis Hamikdash, you know, is 10 times in Shas. Check out throughout Shas. Mishachara Beis Iskar Mezaka Mishachara Beis Hamikdash. Only in 3 places state the word Shibane b'meheira b'yameinu. What state the Shibane b'meheira b'yameinu? There's a word from Reb Tzadok, a moyer dike word. A word from Reb Tzadok. Reb Tzadok sagt that, I mean, it's a sagt to Sibah from the Blebel Eger, as Chasunosoi goes on Taka and Luchis Shnias who are eaten in Yom Kippur. B'yoyim Simchas Liboy goes on Binyan Beis Hamikdash. Shibane b'meheira b'yameinu doesn't mean Binyan Beis Hamikdash, which was by Shleimai, and we have Stam Milek Tzub Sabrocha Shibone B'Meir B'Yamin. Dr. Tzodek, a moyerdik avot. He says that the Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi will be Nivne al Chamisha B'Av. Moyerdik Achidush. Beis Hamikdash HaSidi is going to be built on Chamisha B'Av. He says, Shteit in Psikte. Beis Hamikdash Harishon was Necha B'Mazel Aryeh. Aryeh Chodesh Ov, we know the semen of the mazel of Chodesh Ov is a mazel Aryeh of a lion. Al Yedei Aryeh Shteit in Psikte. Nebuchadnezzar is called the Aryeh. Mechune Kama V'Kama Pom Metanach is Aryeh. Af Beis Hamikdash de Lo Osid Love. I'm reading the Psikte. Yovoi Aryeh Ze HaKodesh Baruch Hu. Ve'yivne es Beis Hamikdash B'Mazel Aryeh, which is in Chodesh Ov. And the Lashon for Reb Tzadok is Ubevadai HaMechuven Al Yom Chamishos B'Av Sherei Omeres HaMishna Lo Hoyu Yomim Tevu L'Yisrael Chamishos B'Av. Moyer the Gavort. It's a Makor, steht nicht in the Psikta steht nicht as a word, but he's saying that the Yibone Beis Hamikdash, the reason why, steht take reasons, more in tiny state 6 reasons we just read, that 6 reasons why based on what was the Yontef of Chamishos B'Av. Tzadok Zokne, the Yontef of Chamishos B'Av is the Yontef that you yearning for Binyan Beis Hamikdash. Binyan Beis Hamikdash state will be Nivne Al Yedei HaKodesh Baruch Hu. B'Mazel Aryeh state will be Nivne B'Chodesh Av. He says Zicher the talk for Chodesh Av is Chamishos B'Av, that this is Lahoyu Yom Tev L'Yisrael Chamishos B'Av. Azay Zok Terash Tikulter. And people muchetzach, was is das, Seder Chamishos B'Av. What is so unique, Chamishos B'Av, and what is this Ma'aser of Yisho Yibnei Ritvo Muchetzach in the Gemara in Baba Basra? Bachuri Yisrael. What's for Ma'aser this is? You're taking Bachrim. This is the way to make a Snias Dike Shidduch in Kal Yisrael. You make as a weekend, a festive. You take the girl, they go dance in the Kramim with Weiße Kleider, and Bachuri Yisrael come in, and also the Ritvo Frechtakashe was Mechoilulis Feistois with Klizemer, and they were singing a Shaila for Kol B'Yisher. Rishonim muchetzach. It says Hazev and B'chav Gadashim Shamayim. There's no chash of Hirur and Ever. The Rishonim muchetzach. They read for the ganze Arichas Yishitim Kubetzes in Baba Basra in that sugya. Another, I would like to say a vote, and the vote is Reb Leibel Eger is the author of the vote, a Yibuzon vote, which is Mamish Moiradik in the Weltarein. Was ist das? Bnei Yisrael Sheyalois Bigdei Lovan Zumizu. Each one is borrowing white clothing from the Tzveita. Mechoilos Bakronim. And everybody says Miyuchoseis, Mechuoreis. This is the reason why State in Ritvo. Somewhere the Kavod. He says Vikiven Sheshoalu Habgodim Zumizu. Shuv Mesulokim Hem Mechet v'nekiim hem v'lochein oimreis soy necho re'eh v'lechashin le'yetzerar. Since each one is not wearing her own clothes, she takes somebody else's clothes. That's a reason why you're not chayshesh for chas v'sholom zol zayin ha'inyan from yetzerara, and this is how the shidduch is made. So I'd like to say over a word to the Bleimal Eiger mit ashtikal tesefes hesber, and this is a moiradik word to take with you from this beautiful day of Chamishos B'Av, that according to Reb Tzadok, this is the Yom HaSidi, the Binyan Beis Hamikdash HaSidi. It says as follows: there is, in every person's life, there are 2 different nekudas and elements which are very crucial and cardinal. One of them he calls is Zman Miyuchet, and one he calls Pe'ula Miyuchedes. Zman Miyuches. We know that there's certain tkufas. We know Dir Hashem b'yimotze kruv b'yoyse koriv. There's a certain tkufas during the year, certain yomim which are mesugal for hamshocha of brachas. We know that in Chazal we see it throughout, that when the Melech is Ba'ir, he's closer to get into him, and therefore there are different filas and different Chag HaPesach otzoton mit Geula, and Chag HaShavuos otzoton mit hamshocha for Matan Torah, and Chag every single Chag, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, is a Zman from Iskarav Ta'Kodesh Baruch Hu B'Yoseh Korv. This is a Zman Miyuchot which is known, and there's certain Zmanim Miyuchodim that are very, very unique and special for this particular bakoshe of Zachen which are miyuchat to Ois's man. The Oisa them, besides that, there is also, besides the Zmanim miyuchodim, there is also Peulos miyuchodim. What does mean Peulos miyuchodim? The chshivas of the Peulos miyuchodim. And I'd like to say as follows. We know there is a Maisa of Churban Beis Hamikdash. Why did Churban Beis Hamikdash take place? The Gemara state in Gittin, state in the Gemara in the Sugi of Kamsa bar Kamsa. Everybody knows the story. Somebody made a Suda and he told his Shamish to go called Kamsa, and he called his son Bar Kamsa, and he saw he had his Tachnunim. He says, let me stay here. He did not let him stay there. He threw him out of the Suda. He says, even if you paid the whole Suda, I'm not letting you stay there. He went and he was Malshin on him to the Malchus. And the Nekuda of the Churban came because of Sinas Chinam. This Sinas Chinam that he couldn't fatrog, that he called his son, who happened to be the son of his Bar Kamsa, was the son of Kamsa, as he stated in Marsho. It wasn't a person called Bar Kamsa. So this particular reason of Sinas Chinam brought the Churban. So today, the tikkun has to be in the same place where the kilkul was. The Gemara has another day. The Gemara in Gittin Daf Nun Ches, the Gemara says because of Shula the Nagri. What was the Shula the Nagri? Ma'aseh bechot shenosan einov bei eishes rabbi. He wanted his Rebbe's wife, a Shula the Nagri ave. Pa'am achas utzroch lilvis momen. Omar atalmid shager ishtecho etzli v'almena momen. The Rebbe needed some money. He says, send your wife to me. His wife came and told Talmid, and she stayed with him for 3 days, and he took her. Afterwards, where's my wife? He told him, I sent her away right away. The Talmidim started up with her on the way back home. Go ahead and divorce her, because she was harassed by the Talmidim on the way back home. Olach v'giresh v'tneso ha-talmid. Kimi she'higia zman for the Rav to be pereya d'alvo and divloyo l'ifroya. Omar boi v'asei mi b'choivcho. Come to me and work for your time for the money that you borrowed from me. Choyo hu v'ha-talmid v'ishto yoshim v'oichlin v'shoisim. Him, the Talmid, and the Ishto, he married her. He divorced her, and the Talmid married her. They were sitting and eating, and he was meshamish them. The tears were gissing out of the neiflos bekoiseim. This show, so this maise is a moyel maise. The maise from either the Talmud or the Rav of Kamsa bar Kamsa. So the Nekuda Sachir Churban comes from either Sinas Chinam or Albonas Panim in a very unique way in the situation. And in order to be Mamtik the Din, you have to go through, we know the Mahalach according to the Goyen, Zereya Tzdokois Matzmiach Yishuis. If you Zereya the Garin of the beetle of the Aveira, this is how you Matzmiach Yishuis. Zogt Reb Tzodek HaKohen. Listen to a word, Samoyelik a word, and he says like this. Shteta Psyche, if you look in the Eichor Abossi, is a Psyche. It says when the Gzeira and the Churban was, Yirmiyahu went to Kivrei Oves to be Me'oyer the Avos Ha'olam, Moshe Rabbeinu, Avos Ha'olam, in order to marish that Chas v'Sholom Nebuchadnezzar should not be Machrim Beis Hamikdash, and Klal Yisrael should not go to goals. It says he went to Avram, he went to Yitzchak, he went to Yankov, he went to Moshe, and they couldn't be mamtik the din. V'kimat v'nechtamo ha'gzeira sheyedu l'she'el tachtis without any coming back from the goals. Kof tzorochel imenu v'lifnei HaKadosh Baruch Hu ve'omru. Golui ve'yodua lefanecha. You know HaKadosh Baruch Hu. I'm reading you the Psyche of Eichor Abossi. שיעקב עבדך אהבון יעבו יסיירו ועובד בשל אבו זין שונים וכשישלימו זין אויסון שוני והגיע נישואי יועץ אובי לך לפני לביילי בשל החייס. She knew before her father is going to make the swap, Rachel and Leah. Okay? V'huksha alai adova me'oid anoidi ha'etze, v'oidati lebaili, u'mosarti le Simon beini u'bein achoisi, kedei shelo yuchal ovilach lifeini. It was by me a Moyer de Kazach. So she went to Yankiv before and she told him, here are the simonim. You should be able to recognize if my father is going to follow you or he's not going to follow you. He's going to do or not. So the Gemara zog the psikte a Moyer de psiche de Eichor Abasi. It says, La'achar mikem nichamti be'atzmi v'sovalti es ta'avosi v'richamti alochesi shelo teitzel lecherpo. ולערב חילפו החויסי לביילי ממקוים. ומסרתי לאחויסי כל הסימונים שמסרתי לביילי כדי שיהיה סוף השיעור. So everybody knows מוסר סימונים לאחויסי. But people don't know ושתית במדרש. Okay. והויו הדובר לערב שנכנסתי תחת מיטס החויסי. I went and I lay down underneath the bed. וכשהוא הויו מדבר עמו when my sister he started talking to her, he was with her, with Leah, he asked Azashayla, she was under the bed whispering because he knew the voices, he knew to recognize between Rachel and Leah. In order for him not to be Makar Kol HaChoisi, V'gomalti imochesev v'lo kinesi v'lo yitzisi al-cherbo. Uman ishani bosov adom ofavei v'lo kinesi l'tzorosi. ולא יוצא איסי לבוישו לחרפו, עתו חי מלך קיום ורחמון, מפני כינס לעבוד הסילודים שהם בהם ממש, ועגלי סבוני ונהרגו בחרב, ואויסו בהם אויבים כרצוינום, מיד נסגלגלו רחמם של הקדוש ברוך הוא. אומר, בשבילך אני מחזר ישראל למקוימם. הדוד הקסיב, כה יאמר השם, כל ברום הנשמע נהי בכי תמרורים, רוכל מבקו על בניו, מענו להסנחם על בוני כי אינני, וקסיב, min ikolech mi beiche ve'enach min dima ki socho lepeuloseich neum Hashem. Shavu bonim ligvul. I want to tell you a different thing. Vos meint yesh socho lepeuloseich. I want to tell you the state in Medrash. I'm going to look at Medrash. Medrash says that Lavan was mechanes the people, and he was a shiva lerochel ba'apiryain. He was moishiv rochel ba'apiryain on the college here. And ve'achachar chibo aneros. This is a midrashim from Eisenstein. Oitzar midrashim. Ve'achachar chibo aneros. Ve'oitzio lerochel ve'ishia lov b'mkoimo. He put in Leah b'mkoimo. So Leah, Rachel was milubeshes with the kalaklet, with a beautiful designer dress from the collar. Rachel was there. Uksheoitzio steht in Medrash. Esira bigdo me'aleo ve'senosod soy la'achoiso. והחליפו ביגדו בבגד אחר, ושאל לו ביגדו לאחויסו שלא תשבייש. She knew her sister sitting on the college chair. The candles are off, but the candles may go back on. He may be able to see her. She called her sister to the side. She took off her collar dress, and she made Leah dress up with the collar dress. This pe'ula, this self-sacrifice, this hakrova, was so unique in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Such a spilus as Eizot Tzaddik in Lomas Al Yainim, that this schus is the schus that the peula nishno the zman miyuchad ki yisachol lepeulosich. This peula, this is the peula which is aimed the schus bekol aderes. The reason why Chamisha Asar Be'av is the day that Bnei Yisrael yoitzes bibig the lovin sheulim, and each one has to swap. This is to perpetuate, to go ahead and you say, I take my white dress, I take my most beautiful dress, and I'm giving it to you. You're going to be there, you're going to be the beautiful one, you're going to be the chosen one, and the shidduch is going to be remain there. Where everybody is dressed up in such an achdus, and everybody is willing to take off their egene clothes, the beautiful designer clothes, and give it over to the fellow, to her friend. This is Soy Necho, this is Lo Yom Tovim L'Yisrael. This is the yontif of Klal Yisrael, the yontif of perpetuating this Yeshocho Lepuloseich Omar Hashem. There's no better days of Tzaddik than this day to build a Beis Hamikdash. Beis Hamikdash is nechrab for sinas chinam, and is being rebuilt back for ahavas chinam.